The Pistons suck. Let's talk about it. On Tuesday, the Pistons ended up passing the all-time losing record with 27 straight. This was for a variety of reasons, mainly being they're bad on offense, they're bad on defense, and they have bad coaching. So let's break it down. On offense, they're too reliant on ISO and transition. This is leading them to have the 8th most possessions while still being a really bad team. Part of the problem with this is when you're relying on ISO, you're having a ton of bad shots that are thrown up. And Cade Cunningham's not there yet. He has all the tools to become a superstar, but he's not there yet. They're also reliant too much on transition. And with transition, you're more likely to throw up bad shots too quickly, and this is going to hurt your defense. You're not going to have time to settle down on offense. You're not going to be able to control the flow of the game. And when you're a bad defensive team as well, giving them more possessions is a huge issue. Another problem on offense, which is why they're relying on ISO in transition, is they have bad ball movement. They have bad spacing. They have bad off-ball movement. All of these things are problems with the coaching, to be quite candid with you. They have players like Bojan, like Joe Harris, that are great shooters. They need to be utilizing them more. They need to be using more pick and roll with Cade Cunningham. This is going to give you more control over the game, and you're not going to have a 27-game losing streak because it's going to make it a little bit more dependent on shooters hitting their shots, which they have. They're not necessarily a terrible three-point shooting team. Yes, they have the 9th worst shooting right now, but a big reason why is they're taking hard shots. They're taking transition shots, which can be low-hanging fruit, but not when that's what your offense is relying on, which is chaos. When it comes to defense, like I mentioned, there's too many possessions on both sides. You want more possessions, but you don't want your defense to have more possessions. You want to control the game. They're playing too fast. This is also why they have the 2nd most turnovers. They're averaging 16.4 turnovers per game, which, as you can see here, a lot of them towards the end of this game are because they're reliant on ISO, Cade Cunningham, and transition. It's not enough to just rely on those. You need to have a more set up offense. This is going to limit your turnovers. This is going to make it so you don't have as many possessions on defense, because Monty Williams is not a bad defensive coach. He's actually a pretty good defensive coach, but they're not doing well defensively. They have the 5th worst defensive rating. They need some veteran leadership and bad. What they should be doing is picking up vets like Danny Green, Goran Dragic. Goran's not necessarily a great defender, and neither is Danny when they're getting old, but they're vocal leaders. They need this on offense and defense. They need people directing the flow of traffic. And Monty Williams, he needs someone vocal out there. On his last 2 head coaching gigs, he had Drew Holiday and he had Chris Paul. These guys are 2 very vocal leaders and very dedicated defenders. They're going to direct people, especially the young guys, where to go. Another issue, Monty Williams, coaching. He's not doing a good job. What we've really seen here with Monty Williams is he is an excellent coach. Excellent. But there's a difference between a floor raiser and a ceiling raiser as a coach. We see coaches like, say, Mike Brown, Mike Malone, Nate McMillan. These are coaches that have been proven to raise the floor and develop these young players. Monty Williams is a ceiling raiser. That's what he's been known for. He got the Suns over that hump when he was there in 2019, got them to perform extremely well in the bubble. And with Chris Paul added on to that team, he raised them to a level where they made it to the finals. And obviously they lost to the Bucks, but that was a level we haven't seen them since the 90s doing as well as they were doing then. But we've also seen he is not the best at developing talent, especially when you have a lot of big men and a lot of young players. Look at DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton saw pretty much no success while he was developing at the Suns. He still hasn't seen too much at the Trailblazers, but regardless, when you trade for players like James Wiseman, you're expecting someone who can develop that young talent. When you have Cade Cunningham, you're expecting someone who can develop him. There are only 4 players on this team that are over the age of 24. He needs more help as a coach to have vocal leaders on the court, but also he might not be the right guy for developing these teams. He might be a better fit on a different team that's a contender. What really I think would be the best fit is picking up Nate McMillan. We don't want to give up completely on Monty Williams. He's only 29 games in, but he's lost 27 of them. He's got a 7% win rate, not even, which is by far the lowest in history. With the Bobcats, they had, I believe, a 10% win rate. So he's got a lot to go. But we've also seen with Nate McMillan, players like Sabonis, Oladipo, Even Paul George had a lot of development, especially after getting that leg break. People didn't know if he was going to be the same. With the Hawks, he brought him to the conference finals. He'd be a great choice for getting this team developed. And how to fix their offense. You need to slow it down. You need more pick and roll with Cade Cunningham, and you need off-ball movement. You need to play Joe Harris more. You need Bojan and him to be doing more off-ball, getting open, spacing. And you need a player like Goran Dragic to be directing that offense as well, alongside Cade Cunningham. You need him to have a mentor. He can't be doing it on his own. He's going to get frustrated. He's going to get disgruntled. And he's going to ask for a trade. He's the best player you've had in years. You can't mess this up, Pistons. Let's fix it.